And it, oh, now it comes on. Okay, thank you, sir. I tried several times. Um, but, um, but it is something that we can, never, express enough. And, you don't really notice those things as much until it happens, to you, or knocks on your doorstep. And when I, actually experienced that with, my sister, I wanted to make sure that I always place as much emphasis on that as possible because so many, victories that have been won also, and we always see the worst side of it. But the other side is that there are a lot of those who have been victorious over the challenges, and we just blessed that we don't have to deal with that ourselves. But in a way, I would do that again next month. So we'll record that again. We don't have to tape that. We'll record that again. But anyway, I now call to order the meeting again for September, and we're glad to have you all here. And the first order of business that we do have on is approval of tonight's agenda. So we've received those. The chair entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, the minutes have, or the agenda has been approved for this evening. The second item is approval of the minutes of our August 13th meeting. Do we have a motion there?
So moved.
Okay, Ms. Reams again. Do we have a second?
Second.
And that the minutes will be put to record. We don't have to vote on that. Now, we go to our new business. Neil.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We have case U-2253-25-1. It's a request by Summit IG, care of Jason Kaufman, for a conditional use permit to allow the construction and operation of a fiber utility generation station per section 61C-2-6, public utilities, in accordance with Article 17, conditional use permits of the zoning ordinance. The property is zoned CS, commercial services, and is located off a private road, Enterprise Way, in the Stevensburg Magisterial District. It's found on tax map 41, 111G. The Planning Commission will consider, review, and make findings whether the general location or approximate location, character, and extent of the proposed fiber utility generation station are substantially in accord with the county's adopted comprehensive plan or part thereof in accordance with the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended, section 15-22232. The Planning Commission is also responsible for making a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors as to approval or disapproval of the use permit. Mr. Chairman, you can see on the screen there in the dark red that Pam has up on Enterprise Way, the subject parcel. You'll notice in gray there's Enterprise Way. It's already dedicated right away for public use. And this case is a little, as you saw in the staff report, combined with the following case on the agenda. The applicant proposes, among other things, to have this fiber generation facility, and I won't go through completely his layout and everything like that, but Enterprise Way, some years ago, there we go. Yeah, it was rezoned from the Armstrong property some years ago to commercial services. And at that time, proffers were tendered. And somehow, which I don't necessarily need to delve into, proffers were not fulfilled prior to construction of some of the things out on Enterprise Way. And the main proffer was that Enterprise Way was supposed to come into the state road system. The applicant, as you might have noted in their application, put forth some conditions with this conditional use permit, one of which is to bring Enterprise Way into the state system and remedy that problem for the county. So I had boiled that down, basically, the language, and and I'll read that to you in terms of the recommended conditions from staff, but I just want to back up and mention that, there's no negative impacts that we can identify to the neighborhood for this use. It's not going to take any utilities or sanitation, water line. is not necessary here. The design will be subject to Article 20, which is unlike the recent, well, not unlike, but unlike the recent one that you saw down on 522, this is not impacted by the entrance overlay corridor. So the development of this property will be governed by Article 20. So I don't believe that you need to get down into the weeds of what the fence looks like and things like that. But, but the crux of it, back to Enterprise Way, it's kind of a win-win. And what I would put forth as conditions for this use permit for approval would be, number one, future development on tax map 41111G shall be in general conformance with the tendered concept plan dated November 13th, 2024 by Andrew M. Miller, PE. And number two, and this is prior to site plan approval, an infrastructure performance agreement and appropriate surety in accordance with the current Culpeper County Performance Guarantee Policy shall be posted and accepted for the completion of the remaining roadway improvements necessary to ensure Enterprise Way is brought up to current VDOT standards and formally accepted into the VDOT state highway system. With that brief overview, Mr. Chairman, I'll be glad to answer any questions that is not apparent in the staff report. Okay. And the applicant is here, and it's my understanding that they have no objection to those conditions. Okay.
All right, the applicant or representative for the applicant here, please come forth and give your full name for the record, please.
My name is Connor O'Donnell. I'm the land use planner. Gentry Lock Attorneys. Also behind me, we have Chip Dix, who's a land use attorney with Gentry Lock, and we have Steve Ragland, who is the COO of Summit IG, who will probably be able to answer a lot more of the business questions that you all may have that come up. You all had network towers before you the last two times over the last few months. I think they did some of the heavy lifting and explaining these fiber hut facilities. So I'll just go over a quick overview. Again, fiber optic signals, they weaken, degrade over distances. They need to be regenerated. And that distance, 50 to 80 miles, different facilities that need to kind of pop up along that distance. This is about 50 to 80 miles between that distance from Summit IG's Powhatan location. So Summit IG is end user neutral. So that means that the fiber hut is open to any business who would like to come along, school, healthcare, government, service providers. VDOT is a known user of Summit IG's facilities. They would have what we call cabinet space at this location. And so, I know the conversation around data centers is out there, so just addressing that first. This infrastructure could be used for data centers, but again, it's end user neutral. Data centers are treated like any other interested applicant or end user. And so this is just an overview of that 50 to 80 mile range. This is Summit specifically, so you can see up here. So looking at each of these 50 to 80 mile locations, trying to form a little bit of a concentric ring for stability. If there were to be anything that occurred over here that cut a line, you have no cut in services, redundancy. These are the three adjacent parcels. I'm going to touch on the rezoning a little bit at the end. The rezoning is something that we've worked with the adjacent landowners on to come into agreement with. But these properties were rezoned in 2005 from light industrial to commercial services. The Schul's home warehouse is right here. That is still light industrial. These two parcels, back up here. So the current parcel is undeveloped as well as one adjacent to it. Again, these three are zoned similarly. Here's Schul's. So this is the original parcel that was in 2005 that was developed. The road Enterprise Way was built at the same time as this building in around 2009, and these two parcels have remained undeveloped. Currently, Rooster's Restoration, a car restoration service, operates here. An LLC, Brenco Properties, owns this, and Summit IG has a contract to purchase this property here. Just some photos from ground level view for perspective. This is entering into Enterprise Way off 666. There's Shules. If just noticing sight lines, this would be the other undeveloped property, Brenco Properties. So the Summit IG property would be farther down the road here. So it's not visible from the road. These are from January when I was up here. This is looking towards the end of the road, the cul-de-sac, and it's this lot on the right. This is looking directly at the lot here. This is the concept plan currently. So this is similar in the footprint of the other fiber hub that you all saw. It's 100 by 100. Summit IG is proposing up to 2 of these shelters. The other facility was 6. So this will be the same footprint size, but smaller in terms of number of shelters. There's about 130-foot forested buffer from the rear of the property, 20 foot at a minimum to the undeveloped property, and 30 to Rooster's Restoration. There is a large existing pond here, BMP, that will likely serve the site. It may need to be increased. That'll come during the site plan process to see if that will be able to handle existing capacity. This is just a zoomed in version for y'all so that you can see a bit better, so that the driveway would move up. This is uphill. And I believe you saw an image like this before as well. This is what those shelters look like, 12 feet by 27 feet. So there would be 2. There would be a generator. Their generator would be diesel, not propane. And I'm going to keep hitting the forward button. I dropped out of here. Could you pull it back up? I think I might need to be popped up. Just want to talk a little bit about the rezoning history too, because we started with the conditional use permit, and once we got into the proffers, it became a little bit messy because there are 3 adjacent properties here that were subdivided in 2005 into one property from the Armstrong property, and then that were subdivided again into the 3 properties that you see. And when it was originally subdivided, there were proffers placed on the 4.6 acre parcel. And then when it was subdivided again, those proffers applied to all 3 properties. And there was ambiguity about who was responsible for what in these proffers. It seemed that the trigger had already passed for what needed to be done. Speaking with the other landowners who currently own it through iterations of purchases, they didn't even know that there were proffers on the land.
Gotcha.
There we go. Thank you. Oh, here. Sorry, I made some trouble for you. And getting back to the road, so there is no existing road maintenance agreement between the 3 property owners. I spoke to the original developer of the road who was there 2005 through 2009. She had the road built. She told me nothing was ever agreed upon. That the BMP, the pond out front, there's no maintenance agreement with that. So there are a lot of holes here. And so fortunately, the 2 adjacent property owners are supportive of kind of collectively cleaning that up. That's the reason for the rezoning with all 3 properties. So Summit IG is willing to take on the biggest proffer that has been kind of left hanging out there, which is developing the road, rehabbing the road up to a point that VDOT can accept it. And because the road is collectively owned by all 3 individual landowners, we do need collective agreement, and they are on board. And so the intention with the rezoning is to just clear up, essentially wipe away these old confusing proffers, but take care of the one outstanding proffer, which is bringing the road into the VDOT system, which Summit is willing to do. So we're moving our cup forward for Summit IG, but also the rezoning has kind of come in the footsteps behind us as we try to solve some of these existing outstanding issues. I will leave it there. I will be happy to answer any questions for you or flip through to some of these photos. And if you have any business-related questions, again, Steve Ragland, COO of Summit, can come up here and help answer. Thank you.
Okay, hold on. Have any questions for the applicant at this time? Katie, go ahead. We'll start with you on that side.
So what will end up being the tax benefit to the county?
I was looking at the adjacent properties. So the property, Rooster's Restoration, is currently assessed at $800,000. Our property is about $200,000. The other undeveloped property is about $175,000, and Shules is $500,000. So I imagine if Shules being 500, Roosters being 800,000, likely somewhere between that number and the final assessment. I remember I was watching the previous commission hearing with Network Towers, and I believe they said the assessor would assess that parcel at $250,000, and that's in the A1 district. We're already at $200,000, so I believe with probably between $500,000 and $700,000 as a final assessment.
Okay, in terms of electrical demand, I mean, has Dominion, I don't know if it's Dominion or REC there, but have they said, yes, they can meet that electrical demand?
So each shelter is about 400 amps. And so that can be served by an existing distribution lines. They are buried as they go down Enterprise Way. And so existing service is sufficient.
And then and this might end up being more of a staff question, I guess, will the conditional use permit be stuck to the property or stuck to the owner?
Your microphone.
Conditional use permits usually go with the property. This particular owner, I believe, is going to fulfill their obligation to bring it up to state standards. But in any case, if it did get sold, that would be a condition of the use. That would be transferred.
And they will own this property. They're not leasing.
All right, and you said 2 buildings is what your plan is. But am I correct in my assumption here that because it's not clearly defined, that is a condition that we could propose to limit it to 2? Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Ray?
I guess I want to go back to the original properties. Of those original properties, the first one was accomplished. Is that right, the right-of-way?
So yes, the right-of-way is dedicated. Actually, when I drove down there today, there were signs on there saying private road. Again, the current owners did not know the properties exist, did not know that this was right-of-way. They now know. So yes, that is officially dedicated as public right-of-way.
Okay. And you talked about a rezoning.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about a rezoning. I'm confused. It's zoned commercial services today. Isn't it going to stay that?
It will. So technically, it is a proffer amendment, but a proffer amendment is a rezoning. But it will essentially be commercial services with conditions to just commercial services.
Okay. And the rest of the proffers that are out here, I understand the turn lane that's an OBE basically according to VDOT. You don't need that.
Correct.
But why not just keep it in place? Why take these away? Because you're proffering the same thing for the road for Enterprise Way.
Primarily, the hours and hours of ambiguity that led up to working with the adjacent landowners to see who's responsible for what, who even knows what. There are no agreements in place, and just speaking with them and understanding that it would be more simple for the county and more simple for the landowners when if they were to sell their land, they don't have to have these proffers on and the next purchaser has to say, wait, has this been done? What's been going on? And so really for simplification, that's the primary driver.
Okay,
And a little bit of clarification as well. The original trigger for upgrading and dedicating the road was when a building permit was issued on any of the property. Obviously, there's a building that exists there, and that has not happened. So there's also ambiguity about, are the proffers enforceable at this point, because that trigger has already gone and passed. And so if we come now, it's just, someone is willing to do this, so we're moving it through the conditions and trying to simplify the proffers.
I guess maybe I need the attorney to help me out with this one. I don't understand it. He's talked about a trigger pass that we can't enforce the execution of the proffers.
That's not necessarily the case at all.
Okay.
I would disagree with that respectfully.
All right.
Okay, hang on. And we talked about ambiguity about who's responsible, and I don't understand that either, because as Neil pointed out, the conditions, the proffers go with the land, not with the owner.
Correct.
So it seems to me that we had a bunch of proffers that you put out there, and you said, okay, we're gonna rezone all this to commercial services for you. Did that, I assume that helped them sell that pieces of land into 4 other pieces. Somebody's already got a business on one of them, but nothing was accomplished in terms of the proffers. So now it seems like you're coming back and saying the same. So 20 years later, we're coming back and saying the same thing. Now you want a conditional use permit, and the only proffer is the same thing that we're supposed to do 20 years ago.
I'm confused about this. So let me, again, try to understand.
Hold on.
Mr. Chairman, to that point, and it's somewhat of an aside, Mr. Zegley, I have had other entities inquire about these lots, and doing their cost-benefit analysis have walked away from development there because of these proffers that are ambiguous. I just wanted to share that fact.
And I think when we talk about the ambiguity, what it is for us is that these proffers that were then, once the parcels were subdivided into 3, they apply to each individual one.
Right.
But there are no specifics about who, of these individual parcels would be responsible. The only trigger was that prior to a building permit being issued, that these things would occur. And so a building permit has been issued there, a business has existed there for 15 years. And so the ambiguity that I'm speaking about is that if our client were to move forward, apply for a building permit, and then be asked to complete these proffers, we would likely respond, what about the existing business who has been here for 15 years? Where is the enforceability for them? And then it just can become messy. So that's the ambiguity from the trigger standpoint. And so that is, again, our client is willing to pay that, but those proffers would still exist and those ambiguities would still be there. So currently, with all 3 landowners kind of agreeing that it would be simpler to clean this up while still accomplishing the objective, that is the end goal for simplifying the proffer, essentially wiping them away.
Okay, so the only proffer only one of the original proffers, other than the right of way, is going to be the upgrading of Enterprise Way, and your Summit is going to do that. The other 2 property owners just say, we're okay with that.
Yeah, it is a shared private road, so we do need, that's also where it could potentially get messy. Fortunately, all 3 property owners agree. If one were to say, I don't want this road public, I don't know where we would go from there either. So we're kind of jumping on this while we can, because we will need a board of supervisors resolution to support this. And so while everyone's on board, while we have the opportunity to clean this up, we're trying to just do it all at once. And from the other property owner's perspective, what do they get out of this? Simplification. If they go to sell their properties, one is undeveloped. Whoever's going to come in next is not going to have to come before Neil or you all and try to make sense of these proffers. It'll just be clean. The road will be improved. It'll be a public road.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead.
So I understand your simplification, but the county attorney brings a question to me. You said that you disagreed with him on whether that original trigger could be enforced. You're saying it could be enforced?
We need to give him a microphone too, since it's being recorded. Thanks. Thank you, sir.
A proffer, it's like an easement. An easement can be abandoned, but just because it's not used, it's still there in perpetuity until there's an official document recorded by the proper parties saying that it's no longer effective. A proffer is a proffer. It stays with the property forever unless you go to court, and there's certain circumstances where the court can modify it or do away with it entirely. But it turns on the question of vastly changed circumstances. But a proffer is a proffer. There's no statute of limitations on it.
And I would agree with that statement. I think that the intent of the proffer is being met through the conditions. And I actually agree with all of that. I think the point here is that it is still ambiguous in that there has been a building permit. So the ambiguity would come from, would our client or someone else ask that the other landowner who received the building permit first would be responsible? So I agree with that, and I would still say that the ambiguity exists for ultimate responsibility.
And so would you agree that 2 building permits on that road have come and gone? The road hasn't been fixed, and you're willing to do it now?
I speak for Summit IG, but they have committed to improving the road, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Bennett. So let's say that this was approved, since there's already an existing proffer, how does that work?
When you say approve, what are we?
Like if we approved this tonight, what they're asking for with this new proffer, would this supersede the existing one, or, because you said it's in perpetuity, so how?
Well, it can be revoked by governmental action because it was made in favor of the government as part of the rezoning. So proffers can be modified and revoked or amended or whatever by the governing body, in this case, on the recommendation of the planning commission, which would go to the supervisors.
Yeah.
So if those proffers are recommended to be removed, or some of them, that would be one case. And then the second question would be, how is this new proffer drafted and how enforceable will that be?
Is it?
I've not seen that. I didn't see it, but
Can I speak to a little bit of the clarification? We're using proffer, I think, for 2 different things. So the proffers that exist with the rezoning, we're asking to be essentially to rezone to a zoning without any proffers. And we are moving the request for the road to the conditional use permit.
Yeah.
So that will be a condition of Summit's permit.
Yes.
Additionally, in terms of how do we enforce this, part of one of the 2 conditions, besides marrying the concept plan, the other condition is that we post surety and we do a performance bond agreement with the county prior to site plan approval. And the existing proffer on the rezoning says that the rezoning does not take effect. So that means the old proffers are not wiped away until Summit IG posts the surety bond and has a performance
Yes,
agreement
one
in
condition.
place. So 2 mechanisms for enforcing the proffers don't fall off the property until that occurs and a surety bond is posted. So if Summit IG were to walk away and not pursue this cup, then they never move to site plan, they're never moved to that proffer underlying would not be met, so the existing proffers would not go away. So the goal is that if Summit moves forward and builds this road, we have a clean slate of properties without any 20-year-old confusing proffers, and the road is done. If
And that's
Summit
understood.
does not move forward, nothing changes.
Yeah, that's understood. The purpose. If you're going to spend the money, then you want to make sure everything is in place. Anyone else? Oh, wait a minute. Let's Lance has been waiting.
We'll get down to this.
We're not gonna forget you guys.
And this ties into what you were saying and also what Mr. Bennett was saying, in that a lot of times what I've seen is more of a proffer condition amendment that's done, and where you basically would revise the existing proffers and then have the new proffer associated with it. And you draft those revised proffers, if you would, as part of the application of the rezoning, and then that would get reviewed and approved during that process. But this basically is saying with the rezoning, you're actually going to remove all proffers and just handle it with a condition.
And part of that is
Yeah.
because there are 3 adjacent landowners, so it would be hard for us to negotiate proffers on our property that are technically being committed to by 2 adjacent landowners who possibly could not meet with that. So that's part of, so I guess this is technically a proffer amendment, and we're not changing the underlying rezoning, we are amending the proffers. The amendment is to get rid of them, but this is a rezoning application for 3 distinct parcels versus the CUP, which is just for our parcel.
All right. A couple questions I had just related to the drawing by, I guess it could be for staff question also, is that if you make it a public road where it's now private, is there any implications to any of the existing lots that are going to change? Like a lot of times, if you have a state maintained road, you have to do a commercial entrance as an example. And so if the existing entrance isn't commercial, then they have to upgrade, like Schul's would have to upgrade to a commercial entrance now that it's a state maintained roadway? Would
I
VDOT
think if
require
it's
that?
existing, they would be all right. I mean, I have not analyzed the geometry of these entrances.
Yeah, I just didn't.
But that would be part of it. I mean,
Right.
part of upgrading it to that. And I want to be, Mr. Chairman, if I can, I
Yes,
know
go
that
ahead.
these two issues are conflated and together. But when we do have the public hearing, the conditional use permit needs 1 vote, and then I need to read this other case, and then you can vote on the second one.
Yes, yes.
I just want to make sure that that's clear.
Can we get everyone to sit down, can that laptop come on? So we can get everyone, there. Okay. All right. Now, any other questions? Yeah, Mark?
I haven't finished.
Oh, you haven't finished? Oh,
No, I just,
okay. All right, okay.
just started.
I thought that was just coloring.
yeah,
Yeah, man. Okay.
So I guess that would be more of a VDOT criteria when the site plan is submitted, if they comment on it. And then it would be your responsibility to get the adjacent owner on board with doing that. If they didn't know, well, I got to regrade something or do something else here, they may not be aware of it, is what I'm getting at. So it could be worthwhile
Yes.
having that conversation early. And then the other item would be, as part of, you're in a feasibility study period, or you've completed your feasibility study period, and your period for purchase of the property is coming to a close,
It is
I assume?
coming, yeah, about 2 months from now, yeah.
In about 2 months. And then as part of it, did you do any kind of environmental study for the site to look at if there's, where you're placing the buildings, are there any wetlands, aquatic plant material, anything of that nature? Or what level of engineering did you look at before you
So
placed the
there's
buildings?
been no full environmental study or engineering at this phase. I've looked at the GIS. There's no wetlands or water moving through here. The only water moving through is, per the GIS, coming this way into this existing pond and moving out this way. I do anticipate that this is going to be a secondary kind of messy arrangement with the adjacent landowner because it is a shared BMP and there is no existing agreement exists. Haven't been able to find records of capacity. So I think the site engineering will be a little bit more complicated in that it is shared and there's going to have to be a formalized agreement that is then recorded, which will be good in the end because I'm open question right now about its capacity and willingness to handle. So that will, as the site plan moves forward, that'll be a big question.
Yeah, because one of the things is because it's an older pond, it would not meet current DEQ requirements. So the pond will need to be expanded to handle additional volume. And then based on the nutrient removal, those criteria has changed. So I don't know if it's a wet pond or dry pond out there.
Dry pond, yeah.
But, some of that criteria changed. So you may have to get more easements or more land on somebody else's property potentially.
Yeah, I anticipate a lot of engineering will be needed for that.
And then other question, is there any, well, back to the GIS, sometimes GIS, I don't know if you've looked at National Wetlands Inventory mapping when you looked at the site, but a lot of times the NWI maps would have information related to wetlands. And the only reason I say that, it's just a permitting cost,
Yeah.
right? You know, to do
Understood.
that. The other item would be, is the area is going to be fenced, I assume? What type of fence is it going to be, or what it's going to look like?
Speaking towards the other Summit IG facility that I've visited in Mineral, it was chain link fence. So I understand that would likely be, the setup for this one.
Okay. And then was there, looked at any, in the event that there was a fire at the building, would fire and rescue be able to get in there as well?
The road is quite wide. It was constructed back in 2009 to road standards, VDOT road standards. And this cul-de-sac at the end is actually a temporary easement with the anticipation that at some point this road is going to go that way. I know when the residential development was trying to move forward, this was one of their main entrances. So there already is water. There's a fire hydrant here and a fire hydrant up here.
And then, and there's electrical systems inside the building also?
Correct.
There's no, in far as the building, there's no fire suppression in the building itself, is that correct?
Within the container, there would be the fire suppression that exists, likely chemical, that just exists as they are pre-built. And then it would be that as the first system, and then the public water, the fire hydrants as EMS response.
All right, thank you. Mark?
On the other proffers that are already in place, are there concerns about them? Just leave them in place and complete them all? Is there? It seems like the largest expense is the one that you're already willing to do. What is the concern about the other proffers?
Really just, it's been 20 years and, looking through them, don't see any that other than, so there's a VDOT one about the turn lane out that VDOT has said it's not needed. So again, that's an easy way to, instead of letting it hanging out there, it's not needed. And with it being shared, the confusion. So it's, again, primarily simplicity while taking advantage of 3 landowners who are good neighbors right now.
So in reality, we could, just in theory, could leave them all just the way they are and go ahead and perform on them. And
Realistically, it would not have no implication on the project if you did not change the proffers. Like the cup was what we came to initially with the county. That is still the end goal. That's how Summit IG will be able to operate. The rezoning, I'm a land use planner, cleaning up code and old proffers. It's cleaner. If I was one of these landowners, I would have hopped on board too, because when you find out you have proffers on your land, they're ambiguous and you don't even know about them, and someone says, hey, I'll pay for you to clean them up. We'll lead this and clean it up. They were like all on board. We have letters of support from both of them. They've been friendly. So yes, we could leave the proffers who have no impact on what Summit wants to do. I think it would continue a headache a number of years down the road if someone were to buy that undeveloped property or if something weren't to move forward.
And then the, maybe somebody else in staff could answer this, but the proffers that are in existence that were being talked about taking away, what benefit is there in the proffers to us as a county?
Hold on. Neil was.
Okay, no problem. Okay.
You keep that one. Okay.
Yes. What are the benefit in the proffers that are already in place to the county? Would there be a reason to want to keep them in place? Or
I can't identify any, there are some uses that are proffered out in the list of the existing proffers, but the size of the lots would preclude some of those uses, and some of those uses are not currently allowed in the CS, like a transfer station. So practically speaking, like I said earlier, this is a win for the county on both points, in my opinion, to get this road into the system and to fix this issue that has deterred other development.
Sure, that makes sense.
And expansion of the tax base.
Well, it seems like there's some limiting that's going on as far as what the property can be used for. Those would be removed, and so the property left behind could be used for pretty much anything within CS. Okay. Do you have any idea why those were limited in the beginning? No. Okay. All right. Thank you.
So in your packet here, you have Appendix D, proposed CUP conditional language. And in there, you talk about that you're willing to build this road, but if the people on either side of you don't allow you access to the road to do the work, there's nothing you can do about it, and life goes on. So when I looked at the letter we got from your neighbors, I don't see that permission here called out.
Yeah, so when we first drafted those proffers that we submitted first, we had not engaged with the landowners, and this was something we already knew that planning and zoning was interested in getting this road up. And so part of the ambiguity here is that we were a little nervous that to impose a cup condition on us or proffer that is contingent upon the approval of two private parties who may not agree to it. And so since then, we've spoken to the landowners and have, everyone's on board. My goal is to move concurrently, if we're able to work it, with the CUP application rezoning, request for the Board of Supervisors approval resolution, because that's necessary before getting the road into the VDOT system. Again, taking advantage of the moment when all landowners are in agreement so that everything can go forward and there's no take-backsies essentially afterwards. If we have a resolution to approve, we have all three landowners who have agreed to this, then again, there's no private road maintenance agreement. We're not even sure who owns what part of the road other than it is a private road.
Okay, so are you willing to say that this does not apply anymore?
If those are the conditions that are in the application,
Well, this is Appendix D of your.
Appendix D, yep, so the conditions that are currently before you all have been altered by Neil to essentially simplify those. Those are in,
So this stipulation doesn't apply anymore?
No,
Is
it
that what
does
you tell me?
not. And if you want me to, I can read what I originally did, but basically I hinge it on site plan approval as far as the road being fully bonded, sureties posted, accepted in accordance with our performance policy.
Right.
Before I sign a site plan. And then, not to get ahead of myself, but I will, once that site plan is approved, my suggestion on the next case would be, that's when the proffers would be extinguished once it's fully approved. So there's no jeopardy to the county with that transition, if you're viewing it through the lens of the goal of getting that road into the system and allowing the CS to develop, in a fashion that's in accordance with the ordinance and CS uses.
and I think I understand what you're asking. The risk has shifted. So those proffers that we drafted first were essentially trying to mitigate our risk that the adjacent landowners would not agree,
Right.
which we would then be able to say, we tried,
Right.
we did add conditions. We had to prove that we tried and we did not get permission. We weren't able to complete this. So the way the conditions are currently essentially does not give us an out, and the site plan approval is contingent upon meeting this condition. So risk has shifted, I suppose, back to Summit. But what's maybe different about our calculation is that we have since spoken to the landowners and they are on board. So that unknown risk when we drafted those is, while it is technically still a risk now on Summit IG, at this point, we have.
Okay, so this was your recommendation as to how to word the condition?
Correct.
Okay, and Neil, you're saying we didn't put that in? Thank you.
Good. All right. Thank you, sir. Then we'll open up the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this application? Raise your hand and come forth and be recognized by the chair. Oh, okay, yes. Go ahead, Ms. Bennett.
There's no citizen or landowner comment. I have a few comments from the legal perspective.
Okay, I think that's on, the microphone's on, I think. I think the microphone, there you
Yeah,
go. It's
John
on.
Bennett, Kent,
There you go.
interim county attorney.
Okay.
I'm sorry that I was late. I was in Charlottesville, had to take 20 to get to Gordonsville. And the line was so long, going 15 to 20 miles an hour, I couldn't even see what was slowing everything down. But it was like that for over 10 miles. And I had to go to Lakewood Woods and come here. So this is one of the rare times I think I've ever been late for a meeting, and I apologize.
We won't tell
For
anybody. We won't tell anybody. Now
Thank
you
you.
can start recording, John.
Thank you. Yeah, that's it. I looked at the board docs and I didn't see the new, what's called a proffer to build the road if the old proffer is abandoned. And having looked at it now, and that's what we were conferring about, it raises a lot of significant questions. And my concern would be, without further research, this is a complicated situation. I don't think all the information is before you to resolve all the issues, because the private right-of-way, if there's no written consent before you for this, then you can't do anything to impose a higher use on the right-of-way than what's already there. And I suspect if you go back and when it was given, it was probably for residential purposes only. And then there's a rule of common law that states you can't change the nature or intensity of the use of a right-of-way. If it was residential, it stays residential unless all the parties that benefit from it consent to some other change, and a document is recorded in the courthouse changing that. There's nothing like that in this case. And the way this new proffer is worded is that the applicant agrees to do all these things and to give it to the county and to give it to VDOT, but it doesn't have to be approved or taken into the system at all. And the county has said at that point, it can't make any objection if the landowner objects to it. It says upon completion, the applicant shall submit documentation from VDOT to the zoning administrator confirming that the enterprise way meets all applicable standards for secondary public roads. The applicant shall then initiate the process, not get it approved, initiate the process for VDOT acceptance of the road into the secondary system of state highways. The applicant shall be deemed in compliance with the condition, and commercial operations may commence upon the zoning administrator's confirmation that the necessary materials to initiate the street acceptance process have been submitted. But at that point, they're using it as a commercial road, and none of this stuff, according to the proffer, needs to be approved. And then it says specifically,
John, excuse me. Staff wants to chime in for a
Mr.
second.
Chairman, if I could, the ambiguity that you're reading from is being removed by saying with site plan approval that they will fully bond and post surety for this road to be taken into the system. And I do have a plat here where 1.0492 acres is dedicated for public street use, existing now under existing right-of-way, which is delineated by the green line there to the south.
Yeah.
excuse me, who dedicated that?
The Armstrong Family Farm, Vic Properties in 2008, and I have the copies of the plats here.
Okay. All right. So that changes.
Well, I haven't seen all that.
Yeah.
And I've got questions, you'd have to have everyone that benefits from the use of the old one to consent to the new one. And
And see, a lot of that needs to be interaction between, everyone before, because what we have, here, basically what it seems like to me is that they have all the landowners in agreement. And when you have an opportunity like that and you don't, you take advantage of the opportunity while you have it, because if something does happen in one of those, that changes in this whole, so I can understand what they're trying to do right now, and all the other little details that we're having there throughout this process. Throughout this process, you'll have a chance also, even if it's approved, to still be able to before it gets to the board, because we give a recommendation based on what we have, right?
Yes, sir.
Right? That's what so,
Well,
so
I'm giving you more information.
yeah, and then
So,
staff is
And
is
this,
here,
a lot of this is just new to me because
right.
I didn't originally see it in board docs when I looked at it the first
Yeah.
day it was supposed to be posted.
Okay.
Let me
right.
just read one more thing here. The final determination by the Culpeper County Board of Supervisors as to whether to accept Enterprise Way into the secondary system shall have no bearing on and shall not condition the ability of the applicant to commence commercial operations. This could be, if the landowners object to what's happening, this would put the county right in the middle of a lawsuit.
Yeah.
The county's saying you can do it,
Yeah.
but the landowners who have a very sound legal basis might be saying you can't do it. And what authority did the county have to give this applicant these rights?
Oh yeah.
Judge would tell you.
Harrison, and yeah.
I was just going to say, as a point, I do believe the applicant had gotten in contact with all the landowners involved and has the consent of them. Because I do believe, and Neil can correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe one of the last attachments of the applicant's submittal is a power of attorney that covers the
Yeah,
other
and
parcels.
the letters are posted on.
And the letters are posted on board docs. So they are not, to my knowledge, they are not proposing something that all the other landowners are not privy to. For our intents and purposes, in our department, we have seen that all the property owners along that road are privy to this and are consenting to this.
Okay.
I'd have to see the actual documents
And that's
before.
that's the thing, Mr. Bennett. I think that's where we are right now, and is that what we have before us is what we have to use. But with the staff, if you go into more detail with them before it moves on to the board, maybe there are some other things. But I think in a nutshell, I see that importance, and what that applicant is trying to do is having those landowners give their consent is, at this particular point is what he has. And I understand what you're saying. But before everything can be done, it's already been said that these things have to be put in order, right?
No, it doesn't.
So,
Does
well,
not. Does
okay.
not say that.
All right.
It says the county has to approve it if these documents are submitted.
Yeah, I'm
They
saying
don't
for
have
the
to be
applicant,
approved.
for the applicant saying they got the consent from him, and we do have a letter or something that's saying that. That's all we have at this particular point. But like you're saying,
But that's
it
not
has to
written.
be done.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
But that's not in the written statement here.
Right.
And that's what lawyers typically go by.
Okay.
I always say, pay attention to what's written. What's said is just something said.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
if I
Go
might,
ahead, yeah.
and I don't mean to be argumentative, but I believe you're reading from the application and not the staff report or the existing properties. I believe you're reading from the application, and the applicant has already agreed that the way staff wrote the conditions would be acceptable to them in terms of the CUP. And then in terms of the next case, the removal of the proffers or the rezoning, we have concurrence from the two adjacent landowners. And that's been posted for some time.
Okay. All right. Okay. And one other comment.
Oh, yeah, I just confirmed something. What I understood earlier was what was submitted, the application was being revised, and that basically any of the information was based on your coordination with him, basically saying that the condition would be is that road would be dedicated and built by the applicant, and that would be required prior to the site plan approval. So the county would always have a hook, so to speak, to
Not
make
yet.
sure that the applicant is building and doing what is needed
It wouldn't
prior
be-
to approval and building of any building.
It wouldn't be constructed and accepted, but it would be fully
Approval.
surety posting
Surety
according,
bonds.
would
Yeah.
be fully vetted and
I think
and
that's
posted.
the piece.
Yeah,
what
we would
were
have,
saying.
the
Okay.
funds to do so.
All right. We understand. Thank you, sir.
Thank
you. Anyone else? Declare the public hearing closed this time. Commissioners, we've had some discussion with this, and okay, I need to talk into the mic too, don't I? Get everybody else to do. But we had discussion on this, and I think it's good discussion, and I thank Mr. Bennett and for what he shared, and I'm glad that the staff did have some answers to that. Until different things can be said, but but nothing can be done until what was said is done, and put it that way. So we're going to hear some things, and we have letters, and we have consent from the other landowners right now, and I can understand the cost that's involved to make this happen. I can understand why the other landowners are, giving their consent at this particular point. But I can understand from Mr. Bennett's standpoint too. But before everything can be finalized, it does have to go to the board. But what we have before us right now, that's what we're looking at. So, and that's what we have to focus on. So at this time, the
Mr.
chair,
I don't know if you've closed the public hearing.
Yeah, I have.
Okay,
I
I
closed.
apologize.
Yeah. I made it loud that time. I hit it 3 times. I done that one time, and I'll always remember from that. But thank you for checking. So, but where we are right now, any other discussion? If not, chair entertain a motion. Yes.
I'll just make a motion that in the case of, we got to make 2 motions on this, right, Neil? Okay, but don't we have to do this? Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll make a motion that in case of U 22253-25-1, the planning commission recommends that we find that the general location or approximate location, character, and extent of the proposed fiber utility generation station presented in case U 2253-25-1 is substantially in accord with the county's current adopted comprehensive plan or part thereof in accordance with the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended, section 15.2-2232.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Okay. We will send this forward to the board with a recommendation of approval. Okay. Now we'll go to the second item.
Mr. Chairman, we have case Z 410-25-1. It's a request by Gentry Lock Attorneys, care of Connor O'Donnell, to amend the proffers previously tendered and accepted with the original approval date of October 3rd, 2005, revised October 27th, 2005, on property currently zoned CS Commercial Services. The proposed amendment would remove proffer statement entirely. Property is zoned CS Commercial Services, and as you know, is located on Enterprise Way in the Stevensburg Magisterial District on tax map 41-111 F, G, and H, which is significantly different than just the one. So you see the 3 parcels highlighted there that Pam has in red. I won't belabor the points. We've all heard the conversation that's intertwined here. I would put forth the one condition for the removal of the proffers, and I'll read that into the record. The one condition, the removal or extinguishing of the current proffer statement dated October 27th, 2020, or 2005, shall not occur or come into effect until the site plan for the fiber utility generation station depicted in the concept plan tendered in association with CUP case U 2257-25 is approved in accordance with Article 20 of Appendix A. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Now, Neil, there's still a question about this process. So where we are right now, just give us a summation.
Basically, you have the CUP that is the use itself that you've now recommended approval. Part of that conversation is the removal of these proffers because it's tied to this road.
Okay.
Right now, the rezoning case, which we thought prudent to run as a separate and advertise as a separate case because the other landowners did enjoin this application, we thought it best that we would have a separate case, separate public hearing. That way it would be clean. And then this condition ties the horizon event, if you will, of the extinguishing of the proffers to the site plan approval, whereas the CUP was prior to the site plan approval. In effect, it kind of is going to happen on the same day. But this way, if you vote to remove these proffers, they won't be removed unless the applicant is successful with posting surety and getting a site plan
Yes.
approved.
Yes,
If
yes.
that makes sense.
Okay. Okay. I have one question. Well, we have a question. So.
Yes, Mr. Zeck.
I'm still confused at what we just did, okay, on the first case. I thought we had to take a vote on two things. One, that it was in the right location and so forth, and the second one saying approve the CUP.
The CUP.
We did not vote to approve the CUP.
The CUP, okay,
I didn't make a motion for that.
okay, I apologize then, I got ahead of you. I thought that you had done that.
Okay, no, the
That
only
was just
motion I
comp
made
plan
was.
approval. Okay, all
that
right,
it's
I launched
appropriate.
into the next case.
Okay,
Yeah, sorry about that.
okay, that's what I
So-
thought.
So
Okay.
where we are now?
So
So I need to make another motion, right? Okay, can I do that?
for the first CUP
Can I ask a
case,
question?
yes.
Go ahead.
So correctly, you need to exert a motion which will ultimately include two conditions.
Yes,
One, the future development of and prior to site plan approval, the
Yes.
surety.
Right, with the
Okay.
conversation, I'd gotten mixed up.
I would also make the recommendation to add the condition to limit it to 2 buildings, because that's not specifically spelled out.
Okay.
And the applicant, when it, yeah. Yeah.
They have no
Okay.
problem with
Go
that?
ahead.
Okay, make a motion.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion in
Now-
case,
Now, wait a minute, where are we? Let me make sure where we are now. We just wrote this and we opened up this, other case, so we can, okay. Oh, so we just strike that from the minutes at this point and we start that over again. Okay, all right, okay. Let's, try to stay focused here,
Okay.
with it too, so.
try a motion.
But okay, let's,
Okay, in case U 2253-25-1, recommend, the planning commission recommends approval of the conditional use permit to allow construction and operation of a fiber utility generation station per section 61C2-6, public utilities, and in accordance with Article 17, conditional use permits of the zoning ordinance, with the following conditions. Number one, future development of tax map 41-111G shall be in general conformance with the tendered concept plan dated November 13, 2024 by Andrew M. Miller, P.E. Number two, prior to site plan approval, an infrastructure performance agreement and appropriate surety in accordance with the current Culpeper County Performance Guarantee Policy shall be posted and accepted for the completion of remaining roadway improvements necessary to ensure Enterprise Way is brought up to current VDOT standards and formally accepted into the VDOT state highway system. And number three, to limit the number of buildings on the lot to 2.
okay, all right.
Can I ask one question?
Hold on, let me, we have a motion, but then let me second it, and then we have discussion, and you can, go ahead and, okay, so we heard the motion, and do we have a second? Have a second?
Second.
Okay, any other discussion?
Yes.
Okay,
My question is it the case U 2257-25-1, is that the CUP, as opposed to the U 2253-25-1? Because if so, then you need to amend your motion.
Okay, I'm not,
You said 3 instead of 225.
2253-25-1.
Is the
But it's-
rezoning case, and then the conditional use permit is U 2257-25-1. And then there's a zoning amendment, which is Z 410-25-1. correct?
I'm totally confused now.
No, but it's right on.
That's what it is in
The
our
C-
case
the-
analysis.
Yeah, the CUP case number is
That's
U
correct.
2253.
See, it's three of them.
Okay, so that's different than this.
It's, yeah.
50,
I just want
57.
to make sure what we
Okay.
Thank
approve
you.
is correct.
Thank you.
All right,
It's a typo.
okay.
So
So
now-
there are the three that you have, and then, the one that, Katie has with the, in reference to the two buildings. Neil, would that make it a fourth one then? The
two-
condition with the number of buildings?
That would be the third.
That would be, okay, all right. Now, we have a motion on the floor and we have a second. And any other discussion?
Mr.
Do you need to-
Chairman,
do you need to-
Mr. Zegley,
I
or
needed me to make a,
Mr. Kilby,
You need to amend it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
they-
Do you,
Restate it all, but use
Okay.
the correct case number.
do I have to restate it all or just the
or
case?
change the case number?
Yeah, so in my previous motion, all I want to do is change the case number to U 2257-25-1.
Okay. And Walter?
I second the amendment of the motion.
Okay, all right. Now probably moving second. Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Okay. Just want to say, look, sometimes there are going to be some cases. We've been blessed to not have to go through a lot of these little ones like this. And when we do, we have to stay focused and make it happen so that we don't have to come back to it later or redo it at a later date. Just like when I didn't open the public or close the public hearing one time and had that situation happen. But we have cleared it. And Neil and his staff, I want to commend you all for the answers and getting to and helping us, guiding us through, because some of it does get a little complicated at times. All of us are not geniuses. Some of us are, but I do want to commend you all for just staying within. And Mr. Bennett, hey, that's what we have to do, is put everything out there, and then so that when something moves, we just don't get a call later and say that, oh, but I told you so. Okay. But this is the direction that we're moving. So thank you very much. And now we will move to our next case. Okay.
All right.
The next one.
The rezoning one.
Okay.
You got to laugh or cry, right?
All right.
All right.
Well, we knew we'd be busy on this.
So we have case Z41025-1.
Okay. All right.
And we all
There
know
we
what it
go.
is. It's Gentry Lock attorney Connor O'Donnell to amend the previous proffers tendered. The proposed amendment would remove the proffer statement entirely. The property is zoned CS, and so found on tax map 41-111F, G, and H, as Pam has up. And I'll reread this one more time. The one condition that staff puts forth: the removal or extinguishing of the current proffer statement dated October 27th, 2005 shall not occur or come into effect until the site plan for the fiber utility generation station depicted by the concept plan tendered in association with CUP case number U2257-25 is approved in accordance with Article 20 of Appendix A.
Okay. Yeah. All right. You have some? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, we have that one before us, and this open up the public hearing again on this one for this. Okay. Is an applicant or representative for the applicant here that would like to speak to this application? If so, come forth and give your full name for the record. No comments? Okay. All right. Good. All right. Now, we have the public hearing open. Is anyone who would like to speak to this application at this time? Okay. Being none, the public hearing is closed. All right, we're almost back on track. Okay. Commissioners, what's your pleasure here? Okay,
I have a question.
go ahead.
All right, since this has been more than confusing, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. I understand what Neil's saying, but in the letter from the property owners, it says, be rezoned with the amended proffers as proposed in the rezoning application. The amended proffers being understood only to revoke the existing outdated proffers, not establish or create a new proffer. And isn't that what they're doing, is creating a new proffer?
It will just be a CS regulated set of properties. So there'll be no profits associated with it.
But the fact that they're gonna build the road to code,
It's tied to the CUP.
okay, okay.
Okay.
I think what the intent is probably clear. And the landowner would expect normally to take one proffer away, it's replaced with another. But in this case, it's a condition of the CUP, which is a fine point that doesn't make it a proffer. But at the same time, if you look at what you could reasonably conclude is what the applicant really is saying, the two are in conflict. So
Okay. Did we see in the public hearing, are we? Yeah. And, Neil, you read it, so and the public hearing was open, but no one, you didn't have anything to say on that one, so, at that point. So we closed the public hearing, and then you had a question before we went into any other discussion. So we're in the discussion period, so if you, have a question, sir?
I just had a
we'll do
question,
that now.
just a clarification for the applicant, if we could, is if we move forward to approval of this project, can you get something from the adjacent property owners prior to it going to the Board of Supervisors?
So that's our goal, is to move this forward, hopefully to work with Neil to get this board resolution together so that all legislative action is completed at once. And so I don't want to create more confusion, but we have talked about staggering the rezoning after it moves forward here to give us 60 days to get all of that together. Move the cup forward because, again, that's our primary concern. The rezoning is secondary. Move the cup forward first, and then in the cup are the requirements for the shorting the performance agreement. Try to get all of that worked out in the stagger period so that when the rezoning comes before the board, we can say, oh, the conditions, they're all done. You know, they're clean. That is our intent.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Good. Go ahead.
Clarification, just in my own mind. So
Sure.
basically what we're doing is we're taking it from commercial services with proffers to commercial services without proffers.
Correct.
Okay. But then there is a CUP that we're approving first, which we just did, that has conditions on it that replace the proffers, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's a way to handle that so that it's not
Yes.
confusing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm not
yes,
confused
yes.
now.
Now we clearing it up. There you go. No, good point. That's what we have to do. Any other discussion? Being on the chair, entertain a motion.
I have a motion.
Go ahead, sir.
Regarding case number Z 410-25-1, I move to recommend approval of the request to amend proffers previously tendered and accepted with the original approval date of October 3rd, 2005, revised October 27th, 2000. That might be 9 instead of 5. For the property identified as tax map parcel 41-111F G and H, located off Enterprise Way in the Stevensburg Magisterial District, and currently zoned CS Commercial Services. The proposed amendment would remove the proffer statement entirely with the following conditions. 1, the removal or extinguishing of the current proffer statement dated October 27, 2005, shall not occur or come into effect until the site plan for the fiber utility generation station depicted by the concept plan tendered in association with the CUP case number U-2257-25-1 is approved in accordance with Article 20 of Appendix A.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Okay. All right. Send it forward to the board with recommendation of approval. Now, next case.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We have a renewal of the Crooked Run Agricultural and Forestal District. The Planning Commission will review the Crooked Run Agricultural and Forestal District in accordance with Article 8E of the zoning ordinance and determine whether the district should be continued, modified, or terminated. To date, I'll stop there. When this was written, there was no removals, but there were currently 2 parcels enrolled in the district, consisting of 249.17 acres. And just to launch into what I was alluding to, I've provided at your places Section 8E-9, Creation of Districts, from Appendix A, and you'll note that each district shall have a core of no less than 200 acres in one parcel or contiguous parcels. Well, this is no longer the case, and staff recommends or code dictates that this will not be a viable district going forward. And we're bringing this to you because it was advertised, and this has happened since it's been advertised. So that's why we're bringing it forward as an agenda item.
And just as an additional update, when this was posted, we had only had one application for withdrawal that was processed. In the most recent time, the other parcel also indicated that it wants to withdraw as well. So both parcels have either been withdrawn from the district or want to withdraw from the district. Thus, this district is more or less defunct. And I think I do not believe there even needs to be a motion since it does not meet code. I think, as Neil said earlier, there still needs to technically be a public hearing since this was advertised as such.
Okay. All right. So you're saying we wouldn't even have to vote on it?
I do not believe so since there is no district that exists since.
But for the record, we could.
For the record, it may be good to,
That's,
because
yeah.
Mr. Bennett
I
is
see-
here, and
I
it's
see Mr.
always
Bennett.
better to have a
You
motion.
don't have to get up. You don't have to get up, sir. We got you. We getting it to understand it. So. All right.
Though I would recommend a public
We're
hearing.
going to open up. Now we open up. Well, isn't an applicant or someone here to speak on this at all? Okay. Okay. So now open up the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak? All right. Close the public hearing. Commissioners, what's your pleasure here? Chair entertain a motion.
The Planning Commission recognizes the dissolution of the Crooked Run Agricultural and Forestal District as the parcels do not conform with the required code.
A better way of saying that would probably be that there are no parcels in the district.
I'll amend that. There are no parcels no longer in the district.
Okay. All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed likewise. Okay. The motion is approved to disband that. Okay. There are all our cases in our regular, on our regular agenda. Now we get ready to, before we move into the work session, the chair entertain a motion for a 5-minute recess.
So moved.
Second? Second. All right. Recess.